back to the farm in my last full week before my surgery. So, and I'm feeling behind the 8 ball. I have got to get this rabbit run done. I'm a little worried that is James making that noise, like he's sneezing, and that is the funniest thing I have ever heard. Anyway, as I was saying, I'm a little worried that Julia is getting overly protective of the space because of her babies that are in that back corner. And she's kind of pushing on the older babies. So I want to get them out and in some more space of their own, or at least more space where they can get around. So as you saw last week, I got the bottom run of wire done. So now I have to do this top part, and more complicatedly, this triangle piece here and on the other side. And I think it's going to be a pain in the butt. So let's see how much I can get done before I run out of staples. Where do you think you're going? All right, so that's 90% done. I still have to fill in these gaps and the two big triangles. but my hands are killing me and I'm almost out of staples. So I'm going to call it here for today. I may still build the door, but I need to go inside and have lunch and something to drink. I'm probably not going to be back because I've got an appointment this evening, so I will see you back here tomorrow. Good morning, James. It's nice out here. universe loves to remind me that I am not a builder. So I'm one of the few, I keep saying to my friends, math is a constant except in my hands. I measured all of this out twice. I measured all my cuts twice, and I still ended up with a wonky door. But it's a door and it's going to do the job. I do need to, instead of using the self-catch latch that I was going to use, I need to put a couple of deadbolts, one at the top and one at the bottom, because it racks this in a little bit so that this bottom part is sticking out when the top is lined up properly. And if I line the bottom up properly, then the top sticks into the run, neither of which works really well. So I've got to run to the hardware store and get those. In the meantime, Blessed Saint Agnes is here again today, and they've been busily turning the remaining beds. I think they're on the last bed. Let's go over and take a look. Agnes, that looks amazing. I don't know how you're not dead. It's so hot.
Go off and on. Taekwondo, a little bit of CrossFit, a lot of walking. Not consistently enough, but it works.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this. This is going to make such a difference. up early enough to completely trash my front yard, but not early enough to be able to finish the project. So what I'm doing here is I am building out of scrap prunings off from around the property, kind of a, not a wattle fence, but kind of a decorative twig fence, I guess is more appropriate. It's not woven. I'm using screws to hold at least the cross members in place. And then I'm going to use some of the more flexible branches to try and do like curlicues and decorative stuff on it. I don't know if it's going to work, but except for the cost of the screws, it's free. And if I don't like it, I can get the screws back. So most of the uprights are from my lilac that fell over in a storm last year. They are hefty, hefty branches. And then some of the others I took down yesterday because they were growing in places I didn't want them, like in my lilac bush. So I'm gonna use those poles. I started to use those as my uprights, but they just didn't feel very substantial. So I had those old lilac branches, so I grabbed those, and I think those are going to work really well. And then I've got this choke cherry here that needs thinning out, and the color on those is really cool. So I'm going to cut some of those to be some of the cross members as well. And then I've got willows all over the property, so I can just cut a branch here and there to do whatever decorative stuff I want with it. But as James is telling you, I'm out of time this morning, so I gotta get back to reality. Lydia, why you gotta be a bad example? Oh, why you gotta be a bad example? Get your butt back in. Well, apparently they're still a little shy about coming out, but I'd be willing to bet by lunchtime they will be out and about and having a grand time. Oh, I keep saying that perfect is the enemy of done, and this 100% proves that point. It's not perfect. I still have some tweaking I need to do. Things are cattywampus, but if it gives the rabbits more space and safe space to get around, then I have done my job as a rabbit breeder. Of course, I have to wait for Crow to inspect it to give it the 100%. So I've got a month. They're not coming till the beginning of June. Good morning, Xena. Oh, So I've run out of time on my lunch break to finish doing those carrots. So I'm gonna open up the rest of these bags on my downtime at work. The premise of the bags is I have a really hard time germinating carrots. And carrots need to be kept moist the whole time they're germinating. If they go dry even once, you're out of luck. So the idea with the burlap is it provides a mulch layer, but also retains water, so it keeps those seeds just perfectly moist for the week to 10 days that it takes for them to germinate. Now, hopefully these are going to germinate in time before I go to Virginia. If not, hopefully they don't grow through the weave while I'm gone. Like I said, I've had no luck with carrots in the past, so I don't have high expectations this year either, but it'll be fun to find out. Why are you sitting in the food bowl? Hello, Fluffle. Hello, Fluffle. Happy Friday and happy Beltane May Day, whatever it is you celebrate on this wonderful day. It is a beautiful day here, but it is still cold. We are in the mid-40s today, and it's not supposed to get any warmer for the next few days. But I'm on a countdown. I've got 4 days left here before going to Virginia for a week before my surgery. So I've got to get some of these last bits and bobs done. And one of those bits and bobs is I've got to turn the compost bin and get as much of the soil that's developed out of there in the past year into the garden as I can. But one thing I have to be able to do that is some kind of a sifter to get any of the big bits, the stuff that hasn't broken down yet, out of the soil before it goes into the garden. And that I'll put in the next composting bay, and that will break down more over the coming year. So that's what this simple frame is for. And now I've got to come back here to the remains of my initial chicken tractor to harvest some of this hardware cloth that will hopefully be big enough to fit over that frame. I'm not sure what we're going to be able to get, but let's see how much we can get. For one of my projects. That only took about 45 minutes. So the wire's on here pretty good and solid, but I put these wooden strips on either end to give it skis basically. So what you do is I'll put this over the wagon, shovel a bunch of soil in, or the compost, into this side. There, this side, and then give it a good shake, and all of the usable compost will sift down through the holes, leaving anything extra behind, which I can then just dump in the next bay and get another load of compost. But I was worried about the mesh scraping on the sides of the wagon, so the skis should help prevent too much damage from that. Now I may have to take them off and get longer ones, because I was noticing on my test shake that it was catching. It was like falling off the ends and catching on the side of the wagon. So that's an experiment. We'll see how it goes. I also would like to put handles on it to make it easier to shake instead of having to hold the whole tray. But I don't have any right now, so I'm going to make do with what I've got. Back to work.